AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
Hey, welcome everybody. So we're going live a little bit late. It's my fault. I scheduled it all goofy today, but hopefully everybody can doesn't mind who's accommodating listening to it live, and then Tony doesn't mind doing it at a weird time, and then anybody listening to the podcast, you don't even care because you're not listening to it live. But if you're interested, if you are listening to this as a podcast and you want to listen to it live, be part of the show. I value the interactive nature of the internet. That's why we do it live. So please feel free to join us. And we do the show typically at, I think at 3 p.m. normally Eastern, right? And Tony joins us, and you just got done moving some stuff. But thanks for joining us. If you want to take a second, let us know about the diversity shoot. He has another sold out one on Thursday, right?
Yep, we had another sold out diversity shoot at Gun for Hire range. Thank you, everybody. Actually, it oversold. So we had more than my limit of people, and we have to limit it to make it great for everyone. So everyone has time to pull triggers. We have to have new shooters that may be timid and they just don't, run on a range and start blasting away. They usually stand in the back of the room like a bunch of 7th grade boys and girls at their first dance, and everybody's afraid to step out. So I usually go in there and I just start pushing people in the booths. You go here, 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 let's go. And that gets it started, and then the people just roll with it. So that's kind of what happened Thursday. It was great. Gun for Hire was full. We had We Knives, also Civivi Knives, and Sincut, all the same company. When I was at GOA's convention, the Goals convention, I met up with them, and they gave me a couple of knives to do as raffle items and giveaways. So that was one of their knives, was one of the first ones that I actually gave away at the event last night. So, not last night, Thursday night. So again, a lot of fun, bunch of new people. We got some people that just brought their coworkers. So they already knew each other. And since the seats couldn't be together, they got spread out. And we're talking about Black, white, Hispanic, all in one group. And now they're mixed in with our group of different racial makeup of people. But I'm making jokes and people being comfortable. And then we broke bread together. We had the little thing. The people that have been to my events before, they telling jokes and responding to my jokes. The people that came with their coworkers, they already got their little clique of the funny person. So they were already comfortable because they were in their social bubble. So and it was just positivity on top of positivity. And that which makes not only the events fun, but make them go quickly. And everyone showed up on time. So we were able to kick the event off at 6:00, which usually in that part of North Jersey, all it takes is 3 drops of rain to jack the traffic up, and people show up an hour late. So everything worked out. It was one of the best events I've had in recent years, only because everything clicked off. Everything lined up, and it worked out really well. So thank you to Gun for Hire Range in Woodland Park. If you guys ever in Jersey and you want to look up places close to New York, awesome place to go. And our next diversity shoot is next month, September 12th, I think, second Thursday of September. I'm going to be at Recoil Range in Monroe, New Jersey. And then the last Thursday of November on the last Thursday of September, September 26th, I'm going to be at Lakewood, New Jersey at Reshoot. I already shot the commercials for both of them, and you'll be seeing them pop up on your feed on IG, on Facebook, and on Twitter.
So Gun for Hire, are they still under construction, or have they finished their expansions that they wanted to do?
Oh, they still doing stuff because it's about to be the largest indoor range in America.
That's what I was going to ask, the status of that. So it's still yet to be, but it's on its way.
Yeah, so the downstairs is done, but understand upstairs is a 100-yard range. They still got to build out. They also have the cigar lounge and the museum that they're putting in. And the museum's going to piss people off, and
What's
it's
the museum
hilarious
called?
because it's a firearms museum that they're going to bring there and put in. I don't know what it's going to be about. Hell, it could be about just New Jersey gun inventions, and it can have a whole thing on Sam Colt. But
I was going to
I
say there's
guess it's
quite a
going to
bit
be.
of history in New Jersey specifically, but it could also be like a gun shop, especially that size. Imagine the used guns that they've got. And there's a couple of
Oh,
shops that I can think of that keep their crazy used guns and kind of create a portion of the shop that's like, you can't buy these, but take a look at the cool shit we got.
Oh no, Gun for Hire has a gun store in it also now. They
Right.
have their own gun shop. So no, the reason it's going to stir some emotions up a bunch of whiners is you're going to have to put it on the maps. You're going to have to put it on the maps as a museum. And as you try to cancel them out as a gun shop and make it more
Yep.
and more difficult, you can't cancel out the museum because it's the actual museum.
That's awesome. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that aspect of it. So I got to definitely get out there then. I wanted to see it already, but now I definitely want to see it. It would have been cooler to get out there when they were like next door, or did they move next door, or did they make a bigger building off of the main building and it looks like it's next door?
Yeah. Yeah, they grew into the lot next door. They tore down the store next door. There was a gun store next door. They
So
tore that
whenever it
down
was
and
still
just
the
took over.
original, just single story, 1 or 2 lanes or
still-
something, right? Like that would have been cool to have been there then, and then
Yep.
later when it's huge. Yeah.
Well, the crazy part is all of it's there. They didn't change a darn thing. They just added to it and
Okay.
above it and onto it.
So
So
you
it's
can
all the
go in
same
and
thing.
experience the original. Okay, that's cool.
Yep.
Because I remember, I mean, it's almost like we've been there for a long time. They were pretty active when Instagram was active, and when YouTube was, well, not
Mhm.
really on YouTube. I guess it was Instagram. But when Instagram was more active, they did a lot of effort to like basically show people in New York showing up for whatever reason, like a bachelor party or a birthday party or whatever reason. Usually like a group of people having some kind of fun and like either showing their target or something that they, some souvenir or something. And, you know, how did you like shooting here? So whenever they would do that, you'd see more and more of the shop. And after at first I was like, wow, this place is huge. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Now that I'm seeing the entirety of it, it's not that big. It is a pretty small shop. But
Yeah, so now it's huge. They're back. Check out Gun for Hire on IG because now not only are they doing you had a great time. Darn, I can't even think his name. I just froze. But yeah, he works. Matt works with the guests, and does the little videos with them, showing their targets. Also, they have some guys from the gun shop and some of their guys on the range actually doing product reviews. So they've stepped up their presence on social media. You just got to look for them because they probably muted them in some way. And really, when you want to listen to people who talk about equipment, in my opinion, you listen to the dudes that work at the rental range when they talk about how something holds up or how it runs, because they don't have a dog in the fight because the range bought the guns, and if they suck, you know what I mean?
They're gonna have opinions that are raw because they got to fix the thing or they've got to deal with people. And that's, I think, part of the reason I have my opinions is because of that, because what you're alluding to here, that essentially they either got to clean the thing or fix the thing. Otherwise they could care less. They let the things run dirty. So they see everything running in essentially some of the worst conditions the thing could run in. Most places, I don't know. Do they clean them in New Jersey?
What's that?
Do they clean rental guns in New Jersey?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, Gun for Hire now has their own little gun shop, repair shop in the back where they got the sonic cleaner, where they have like a full-time gunsmith. And
right, but I'm saying,
more
but
than
the rental guns, most places that I'm familiar with renting guns, they'll just leave the guns run. And I mean, if you want to clean it or something, you can, but they don't clean it after every use or nothing. Like the rental guns just go back in the cabinet. And when you rent it, you take it out there and they put it back in the cabinet.
Yeah, I think it goes back in. I don't know. I have to ask Gary. I never thought of that.
But essentially,
because it would
most
make
guns
sense.
just run, and especially if you just let them get dirty, then they kind of self-lubricate, and that's the dirty secret nobody wants to talk about, but it's true. Like guns just work. So most rental people I know just let the gun sit there, and except for the ones that don't, right? Like there are ones. There's some like Rugers and stuff. Like you think of some 22s that have like just fine, that where they can't do that. But most, like I should say, most 9mm 45, any decent
They
caliber,
run.
like yeah, they just work. Like they might hiccup a little bit if there's a bad mag, but for the most part, most modern guns are just going to work. So anyway, that was one of the secrets. And then also 1911s back in the day worked better when you didn't clean them all the damn time usually. So they just never bothered to clean them. But anyway, so that's why I was just asking, or I'm agreeing with you that those folks usually see the guns work or operate in their most extreme-ish conditions, because most of us clean our guns more often than that, and they have a real opinion of the guns.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, and that's how I see it. Now, I don't know everybody that works there, but I know the people that run the place. And if you're gonna blow smoke, I don't think they take the time to make videos to blow smoke up your butt. Sorry, I think they sell enough variety of stuff that if you don't buy the Vortex, you can buy the Hollow Sun, you can purchase the Barris. You know what I mean? They have different um, options there
Well,
for you to pick stuff up.
from working in a gun shop, people come into the shop and they either want to buy bells and whistles or they don't want bells and whistles. And if they want bells and
Hmm.
whistles, you're not going to tell them what bell and whistle. The guy there, they want exactly the bell and whistle that they want today. And they might know, I definitely knew people, or you might know people that today they want this bell and whistle, knowing full and
Hmm.
well that in a month they're going to buy a different set of bells and whistles, but this because they want to try all these things out. So they buy a platform that they can do that on. And I don't get frustrated. Like, come in and buy whatever you want. Like, I don't care. And my at first it was difficult because I was really CCW oriented. I just got my CCW, and in those days I was always like, why are you buying this gun? This is a better value. This is a better value for you, or this is a better gun for you. But after a while, it's like you see enough people come in. It's like everybody's money is different to them, and
Hmm.
like, yeah, I don't care. I don't got a skin in this game unless you get a commission for like buying this gun over this gun. And we didn't work in that kind of shop, so I don't know what that's like. But I imagine if you got a commission on SIGs or something, or if the boss said something like, whoever sells the most SIGs this week, gets something, then maybe they might have and some try to reason to influence you towards a SIG or something. But there's no industry things that I'm aware of that incentives like that make gun shops give a shit. Like you say, they sell everything. And well, I guess it's just like anything. If they've got something sitting there, then they might be like, hey, why don't you buy that thing that's been sitting here for 8 months and we're sick of seeing it?
Hmm.
Like, if you buy that thing, everybody will be happy. Like, you might not like it, but
Yeah,
we'll be
right.
happy to buy that thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're not human and they might not do anything, but I don't really buy into it. Oh, cool. Yeah. I got my
Oh,
receipt
that
for the
doesn't mean they're going to
pizza.
do that to every customer either. That's the customer that comes in and like, no, I want something else. No, I want something else. No, I want something
Ooh,
else. Well, how about that weird ass thing over there? Oh, that's what I want. The weird thing.
perfect. Perfect. The weird thing. Yeah, I just got my receipt, fell out of my pants pocket for the pizza for Thursday. It was $150.
So how many pizzas was that in New Jersey? 10?
It was
No,
no, should be three plain, three pepperoni, two 2 liter
6.
Diet Cokes, two 2 liter Diet Cokes, and three 2 liter Diet Cokes.
Well, first off, what about if you just went and got Diet Cokes at like a Price Club or something? Do you have those kind of things, or is that more of a pain in the ass
Yeah,
than
but then
$300?
then I got to remember to pack it up. I mean, keep it on ice. That whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, because getting it cheaper
So
is one thing, but having it delivered cold at the same time as the pizza might be worth the extra
exactly.
30 fucking or $3 extra or whatever.
Hmm. That's the way I look at it because these were what, uh, 550 each 2 liter. Which yeah, I could get it cheaper. Like if I bought the cans and put them on ice and then
But then
put
you'd have
the
to buy
cooler in
ice,
the
have a
car.
cooler, drag a cooler around,
Yeah,
unless you got like a vehicle that can do all that, plus your ammo
drag
and
the
everything.
cooler, ammo, guns. After a while, it just becomes dude. It's what is it? It's $27 for sodas. Pay it.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
What is the potential of having a food truck show up?
None,
That's much of a
because
pain
I'm
in the
not going to
ass.
call it. Well, I'm not going to call it. I don't want them leaving the classroom because you got to herd the cats back in the classroom when it's done.
Oh, okay.
And while the pizza's being eaten, we still go on with the show. I do the introductions of Second Amendment groups. I'm telling jokes. You know what I mean? I don't want to lose momentum with the crowd.
I gotcha. Yeah, it would be a totally different situation with everybody milling around and deciding what they're going to buy and then slowly coming back in. Some people are done eating, other people are just sitting back down after being out there.
Yep. So I just keep it all together, keep it in the room. Don't lose your focus. I had a wonderful lady, Valentina. She came in. She is called Naturally Armed on Instagram. So she's a firearms RSL, but she got into firearms in 2021 and really got into it and want to introduce people to firearms in a safe manner. She's a black lady, so she's pretty much trying to empower women in general to get into firearms by telling her story and welcoming them to the range. So I thought it was pretty cool. Anthony Calandro was like, "Hey, go and see if Tony will let you speak." And I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I actually saw her video before I jumped in my car to go up to Gun for Hire, so I knew who she was. And she told her story. So again, if you go to Naturally Armed on Instagram, she just put her story up like Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, and I saw it and I was like, "Cool, she needs to tell her story." So she did, and it was received well. And during one of the breaks between the pizza and the raffle, she pulled every chick out of the classroom and took pictures with them in the hallway. And of course, being the guy I am, I looked out and I saw how, nothing but women in the hallway. I took off. I'm like, "Hey, get me in a picture." They're like, "It's ladies' picture." I'm like, "You don't know how to identify. Take my picture." So I got in the picture also. And then it was cool though. We had a big class. I enjoyed it, and so did they. And people said they'd come back. I didn't do an exit interview because we were trying to get out of there by 8:30, so we got out by quarter to nine. So they can clean up. So I need to work on setting time aside to do the exit interviews too, so people can see, hey, how was your first time here, and that kind of thing, and what you expect, and when you come back.
We could put something like that on the website if you want, and then give people like one of them PC, QRC, whatever they're called, codes that zaps them to it, and then make it like a Google form that you can just keep. Like what we're doing for the Ask Gun questions is just a Google form, and I could make like one of them scanner things that zaps people to the input. So we could add that pretty easy if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Still, live video is better. And again, I tell people it's 30 to 90 seconds. You don't have to do a lot of thinking. I'll ask you questions, you answer. And it's only going to be like 2 or 3 questions
Yeah.
conversationally. Because by the end of the event, they've spoken to me enough that most people, unless they have some kind of social anxiety, have calmed down. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. So we've been
We
chatting.
got
People don't realize Tony and I were chatting for like a while before the show started. So we've been just kind of continuing the rambling of conversation, but we did get a real question out here. I think I got one question from the database, but then we also have actually it's 2 questions. I just noticed another question in here from before, but the one that's on the screen is Guns and Waters asking Mossberg 500 or Remington 870. Police trades and this barrel, cylinder bore for slug, improved mod for bird shot to start out. Is that a question, or is he asking
well,
like
I'm
a
wondering.
Mossberg or a Remington?
I think they have some police trade in on CDNN, which doesn't ship to New Jersey, so F them.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, I got issue with that because more gun companies that don't want to do business with you because they're not willing to stand up for the Second Amendment. But anyway, because there's no law against sending a freaking Mossberg pump shotgun to New Jersey. They just listen to their lawyers and go, "Oh, it's not worth it." The 9 million people there aren't worth catering to in any way whatsoever. Forget them. I often say Mossberg because where the tang safety is, if you use the hog leg or the Monte Carlo stock on the shotgun, having the safety ambidextrous, which is right, in the middle, on the back. Seems good. Mossberg has a good reputation, better than Remington, because when you talk about Remington shotguns, you got to ask what period Remington shotgun do you have? Do you have it from the time that the venture capitalists took over and just destroyed their QC process? Meanwhile, in real life, I have Winchesters and Remingtons, which have the crossbow safety, and that's what I'm used to using. So, what I have is one thing, what I recommend is another, and you can't go wrong either way. It's like Ford or Chevy. I mean, once you start getting into it, it's just a bunch of dumb bias for the most part, and then there's some models that just had bad years.
Yeah, accessories, right, are a little bit different. The way that their stocks affix means that some of the accessories are different, like the way the stocks work and stuff. I personally like Remington 870s, but I'll give it to Mossberg's that they had some better accessories, like at least back in the day. Nowadays, I don't know if that's such a big thing. Personally, the big, like you say, they're not big differences, but the safety on top from Mossberg, one of my first experiences was a friend whose spring broke, so the ball bearing was flopping around and the safety kept flipping on and off. You had to keep the safety pushed with your thumb while you shot, and it was just a pain in the ass. And I personally am just so used to what's it called, the crossbolt, where you flip the thingy on the trigger guard for the Remington. I was so used to that that it's second nature, maybe growing up with it, or maybe BB. I really have no idea why that just works for my fingers and stuff. But then you can make one simple modification to a Remington 870 by putting a big ass bulb looking thing on the one side, and you don't even have to touch the safety. Like, you can literally just wiggle your hand. It's not even your finger, just like whatever you call that, like wherever your finger meets your palm, like you can just wiggle that and engage or disengage the safety on a Remington 870. So in other words, it just became easier and easier with accessories. And then everything else is exactly the same, like side saddles and everything you can strap to the front of it. I mean, it's just a pipe, so as long as something can strap to the front of a 12 gauge pipe, all the fronts of shotguns are essentially the same. But you know what the other thing is? On an 870, the magazine can be extended a zillion times easier, because on a Mossberg, at least in the old days, it was all clogged up, like it was made for 4 rounds period, where a Remington was an open tube. So you could screw on like another extension under the front of that tube and upgrade your Remington into, I forget what those were, 8 shots. When you took a 20-inch barrel and put like the longest extension on it, you know, you made like a long riot shotgun out of it. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm talking like 1990s catalog accessories for the 870. Like, that's when I became an 870 person, when I started buying extensions for them. Now I'd rather have the barrel short, obviously, so I don't really want huge magazine extensions. But if you can, that's anyway. So those are the reasons why I prefer the 870. But I recognize the 870 has an extractor that's welded on, and when that breaks, it's down. It doesn't work anymore. So people that hate on it will hate on that. But like Tony said, I think they're essentially Ford and Chevy. Like, I don't like the glove box, or I don't like the way the shifter fucking pattern is. Oh, you were answering one of my questions. Is Tony still here? Or you're muted this whole time? I don't know if you're saying stuff or not.
Yeah, I was muted. You hear me?
But anyway, so I don't know if you were saying anything or not, but I was just ranting about my 870 pick, or why I would have said that.
Yeah, I agree. I got 870s, I have Winchesters, and I have Stevens shotguns. So pretty much the 870, the Stevens, and the Winchesters all have a crossbow safety and work the same way.
I kind of remember the dent, but I seem to remember like a hammer, like this, you know, the handle on a hammer, or also was a dowel rod. Like 2 seconds later, that dent was gone. Like, it didn't seem to be more of a hiccup. I mean, I think I remember smashing it out, but that would have been like when I was 18. So it was definitely a long time ago.
Yeah, you got.
I'm definitely not a shotgun. I mean, I've got a couple of shotguns that I've had forever, and 1 or 2 more since I was a kid, but I'm not a shotgun guy. So I guess I owned some Sega shotguns for a while, but I got rid of them. So you can take all my shotgun stuff with a grain of salt. I'm definitely anti-shotgun as far as people go, or as far as attitudes go. I saw this one come up. BH from NH from New Hampshire. Are you familiar with the two cases being brought by the New Hampshire Attorney General against Massachusetts? Hearing is November 9th in front of the Massachusetts Supreme Court. My case was referenced in the lawsuit. Very cool. Are you familiar with this one at all?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't lock in on the cases, and I'll tell you why. The level of frustration. I know it's bull crap. I know that the laws aren't there for our safety, and I guess when I have to see someone fighting the good fight, I think about what they're going through, how much money they're going through, how much frustration they're dealing with, time to take it. It just makes me angry that you have to fight like this, but I support it. And, I point people towards the organizations that are funding that and ask them to donate. But if I get caught up in it too much, it just makes me angry because these states know they're violating the Constitution. They know they're violating Bruin, and they're doing it knowingly. So they're knowingly breaking the law and violating the Constitution, and nothing will come of it, even when they lose. Then you'll get rights you should have already had back, and they will pay your lawyers with my tax money. So it's all frustrating to me. So I try not to jump into it, but I do make people aware of them when I become aware of them. So no, I don't. And that's the reason why I don't. Like, we got some going right here in our state over the 10-round magazine limitation, over the one handgun a month. And it's all stupid. Like, I was there when they passed the 10 round. Nothing happened with the 15 round that would cost them to pass the 10 round, except they wanted to. And they did it. And when it finally gets to the Supreme Court from some state, because there's enough of them between Maryland, Illinois, California, they're going to lose. And then all of a sudden, the 10-round magazine limitation is going to go away.
Sorry to leave you hanging here. I thought I could easily do something over here on my other screen, but I'm obviously not good at Instagram. So I'm just going to do it the old fashioned way. And then, are you able to check your Instagram while we're on here? Like on your phone or something, maybe. But I'm just sending you a thing to something we were talking about earlier. So just an update, I guess, to what we were talking about off here. I just sent it to you on your Instagram, though, if you want to. I mean, it's not urgent or nothing. I'm just letting you know I sent it over there.
Yeah, I just saw it came up, but yeah, I'm gonna lose you if I go over.
Oh, I got you. He's just going live this evening, so I'm going to watch that and see what he does, how he reacts. There was a question that came in to the website, so askgunquestions.com, like the intro to this video said, is this website I built a long time ago. And thanks to our Patreons, the people that financially support the projects that we do, that website is just up all the time. It's just askgunquestions.com. And over the years, I've put more or less, usually less effort into it. I mean, it's not like it's one of our massive campaigns or anything. In fact, I just bought it back in the old days when domain names like such and such.com is called a domain name, when those were still available. Like when the internet first started, having like dog.com was very valuable. So when I first started on the internet in the 1990s and then started building whatever you'd call like our network in the early 2000s, the very early 2000s, there were some names that were available that I just bought because I thought they sounded cool. Like Gun Websites was a cool name, so I grabbed it. We ended up doing most of our business with that name, in the gun stuff at least. But one of the other names we bought was Ask Gun Questions because it just seemed like an obvious place to put a gun question type of thing. And I wanted, as we're putting together the network, we wanted to have a place for people to be able to ask questions. So anyway, so it's just existed all these years, and it's pretty simple. It's just a Google form. You ask the question in there. It doesn't collect an email. This isn't some kind of scam to send you our newsletter or anything like that. You just type in a question and it goes into a Google document, a spreadsheet, and then we look at it and pick the questions. We don't even get that much spam. I mean, now I probably will because I mentioned that, but it's just people asking questions. So one of the questions that came in earlier was, want to add a shotgun? Oh, so this is probably what Guns and Water was referring to. Sorry. Want to add a shotgun to the collection? Can you fire slugs or easily convert a choke to fire slugs or birdshot only? I also don't truly understand chokes. What's the distance on birdshot or slugs? Looking for a shotgun to hunt both deer and bird. Is this one for me, or what should I be looking for? So it's kind of a lot of questions there. And I think we kind of addressed some of this a little bit inadvertently, thinking that Guns and Water's answer to this was a question. So that's what we get for doing everything backwards. But I think we can still salvage it. Anything you want to add to this actual question, as far as like the shot or the slugs or anything? Or I mean the chokes or anything?
All right, let me go ahead and throw it out. You can pretty much find the answers to most of these things, like how choke works and what distance. Depends on manufacturer. They'll have it on their websites, or you can look it up on like Chuck Hawk, HAWKE. Chuck Hawk has a lot of stuff on his websites. Information, a lot of it is for free. Some of it behind a paywall. If you can't find it on the free thing, you can probably Google it, or even go to the website of the shotgun you choose. Now, I know off the top of my head, Mossberg sells the Mossberg 500 with like a security barrel, with a upland barrel, like a 23, 24-inch barrel. Like you can get them all together. And then for that very same shotgun, you can still buy a separate slug barrel too. So you can have an all-in-one with a Mossberg 500. I don't know about Remingtons, because the funny part is I've never looked into buying Remingtons, because even though I have one, I have an 870 Wingmaster that belonged to the Ohio National Guard. So I have a really good one, but I stumbled across it. And I also have really good Winchesters, but I bought those used. So I never really looked into buying one with all the things, so you could make it into the versatile weapon system that a shotgun is or it can be. But I know that you can get a Mossberg that does all the above. And also, since it's so common, you can also get the information on choke tubes very easily. So I can't answer your question specifically on distance, but I can tell you where you can get the information.
I flipped off from the thing. Let me see if here we go. So what distance birdshot or slugs? Like slugs can vary, I guess, because of the length of the barrel and the slug you use. You can get like a slug for a turkey or a deer, and then a slug for just playing around. So you can get weaker and more high energy slugs, and they're going to go different distances. But birdshot generally is like halfway down the block. Like it's not going to go that far. You can, if you live somewhere where there's a lake, just go shoot over the lake. I mean, assuming it's safe, go shoot over the lake and you'll see how far it goes. Or I guess if you have like a sand dune or something, like so you can see where it all lands. But I only know this because a lot of times people shoot shotgun off into a hill or something. But here in Tucson, we have a place where you shoot shotgun. I guess I could show you on a map. You can just look at it from an aerial view. I'll try to do that while we're talking here. But you shoot north, and then Sporting Clays is shooting south. So you literally shoot towards the other people shooting. And at first it feels weird. And then you figure out that shotguns barely even shoot that far. So, I mean, if you've been out hunting birds and stuff, you figure it out too, because you just don't hit birds that are that far away. But like how far a shot will go is halfway down the block. How far you can be affected is like across your yard. Like you're not going to get across 2 yards. You're not going to get across like 3 or 4 parking slots before it's end to end, I guess I should say, like parallel parking spots. You're not going to get much further than like 3 or 4 parking spots before there's very little energy, and the shot is just so dispersed that it's not, it's just raining pellets. It's not really hurting anything anymore. But I don't want to make it sound like it's not dangerous. And, again, it probably varies. You could probably get really high power steel shot that's going to fly differently than budget stuff. I'm distracted because I'm trying to use my Google Maps and it's being goofy again. Some days I go to my Google Maps and it shows me every single street in the planet, so it's just takes forever to load, and it looks creepy. It looks like some kind of alien view of the planet because it's highlighting every road for some reason. I don't know if it's a glitch on my browser or on my Google Maps account, but anyway, I'm not going to try to open up Google Maps to look at that range because it's going to be ineffective. Yeah, as far as the chokes and all that, I agree with Tony. Like, if Clover was here, he could probably tell you off the top of his head. But for the most part, I think it's less an issue. There's a couple of places where you can get yourself into trouble, and it usually is trying to put the highest choke on something that's also rifled. So there's ways to essentially not have to worry about a slug and a choke, right? M. Gabriel's saying, you ever had an adjustable choke? Yeah. I had a shotgun or my friend had a shotgun that had sort of a screw thing on it that was an adjustable choke. It was pretty neat. I don't know if we ever, I mean, you probably yank on it once or twice just to do it, but it's not like we ever fiddled with it for hunting. Oh, you know what, though? I don't know how much, have you done any bird hunting, or do a lot of bird hunting? Have you done bird hunting?
I've never bird hunted. I shoot clays.
Okay, so that's pretty much the same kind of thing. When you're shooting anything with two clays, right? You get into it, but when we're shooting birds, like going hunting for birds, the reason I got an over-under is because I'd put I'm trying to remember now, I think you have a choke on your bottom one and an open on top. So the idea is that you're walking down the field, and usually we're shooting doves. This is doves in Arizona. So little birds that are like a smaller than a pigeon. They're like a skinny pigeon, and they come out of trees and fly away from you. So you're walking down the desert, and you might have a dog, but our dogs are just making a ruckus. So they're just getting these things to fly away. The first ones, you're going to walk up to them, and then they're going to get scared and fly away. The first one is going to be kind of close to you because you're shooting at it, right? Like, boom. And now if you miss it, it had time to fly further away, and that's why you want to choke on your second barrel. So for a minute there, I was gaming it, and I had like a non-choke and a choke. And how better was I? No better. Like, I was way better back in the day when I just had an 870. But I figured going from an 870 where you either put a choke or not, right? You have to decide. And you figure no choke because I'm going to hit all these birds when they're close to me. And I'm going to be so good that I can also hit them far away without a choke. And honestly, that's how it works because you get used to it, and birds are pretty dumb. But when I got my fancy over and under, it was lighter. It was lighter, and it was a cooler gun. So it has those factors. You know, you can break open an over under, and it looks cool as shit. And you can't do that with a pump. You know, the best you can do with a pump is like carry it like that, but it's not the same as, like, you know what I'm saying, when you bust open a single barrel or a double barrel, you know, when it breaks open, that just looks cool when you're hunting. But so it looks cooler, but it was also way lighter. Like it was made in Russia, but there was one of those Remingtons imported from Bakil in Russia. So it's made with some kind of wood that I don't know, but it was like a strong, very lightweight wood. So it was almost like a plastic back in the old days. And one trigger, so you just had to pull the same trigger. You didn't have to worry about where your finger was. But with all those advantages, like, I was the exact same success rate, which is pretty bad. Like, you know, I don't put a lot of effort in hunting or nothing, but it was more of just going out and, you know, having a good time and shooting kind of stuff. But even with the like advantage of having a choke, it wasn't like I was all that much more accurate. When birds have a chance to get 3 or 4 trees away from you, they're free. Like, I don't like shooting at them anyway, because you shoot them in the butt or something and you're just hurting them. You're not really knocking them out of the sky anymore. But there's some people who just go out to shoot birds, you know, let their dogs eat them or let them sit out there for the foxes or something.
Yeah, it's always weird.
People are weird. So I don't know if we answered all that, but we tried to. We're only 39 minutes in. It feels like we've been chatting for a while, so we have been chatting for a while. I have to leave because I have to get to a place, but I have to leave in the top of the hour, essentially. So I've got some time. I don't know how much time Tony has. Like I said, we've been chatting for quite a while right now.
Yeah, we're cool whenever you want to end it. Okay. You know, I got to make another trip out to the vehicle.
Let's see. So Two Live Moose saying for duck and goose hunting, 40 yards maximum. And that's something that I have not done. Like I'm shooting at critters, like either rabbits, which I guess I don't really shoot rabbits with shotguns anymore. I don't know if you ever shot a rabbit with a shotgun. It ruins it. Like it kills it, but you don't want to eat that. It's gross. You know, it's eating a bunch of shot or whatever. And I don't. For me, it just seems like all that lead wiping on all that meat. Like no, thank you. So I don't shoot them at rabbits or nothing anymore. But duck and goose, from what I understand, is you have to really be hitting them. Like they are way stronger and they're farther away. So I mean, usually they're farther away, but they're designed to live through winter weather, right? Like that's like shooting something through a winter coat.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never hunted anything. Something I want to get into. One of the reasons I'm getting into better shape, losing weight, walking more. If you saw me at GOA, I walked the entire time. I didn't rent a
Right
scooter.
on.
Yeah,
How'd your
so
knee do with
I
all
was in
that?
pain.
Okay.
Woo! I was in pain some days. I was in pain, but it was a pain I remember from being at like NRA and SHOT Show. So okay, I'm familiar with this one. It's just everybody's feet hurt. So I'm gonna keep walking. And again, GOA, this is the first year they did this. So uh, they didn't have what do you call it, padding in every booth, and it was just straight concrete. So it was kind of hard. It was like walking in a warehouse all day over and over and over again.
You know, SHOT Show has booths where they put like that padded floor in, and then some places
Hmm.
it'll just be a padded floor for no reason. So you can kind of take a break from the abuse of walking on concrete. Was this like that, or did they? I
Nope.
mean, they didn't have that as much.
No, no. The main floor had zero. Some booths had a little bit, and even the little bit wasn't enough. Like because you could rent it or whatever. You can get the venue to put it in, and they seem to have had the thinnest tissue-like cushioning.
Oh, I didn't realize that makes a lot of sense. That instead of dragging around your own carpet, you just rent it. And Vegas would
Hmm.
definitely have the best shit because they know what's up. And yeah, like
Yep.
standing there. I mean, I can't imagine great outdoor. That's a whole nother level. But I was going to say standing there for like at least the 4 days of shot. But realistically, it's probably a day on both ends. So they're sitting there at like
Hmm.
6 days of fucking rounded shot. Like you want your employees to be standing on as much cushion as possible, right? Like just for their health,
Yep.
not their well being, but their mental state or whatever, and the fatigue.
So
Them game was saying my
lot,
dad said never to shoot the lead goose, and I don't know if I've ever heard that. Now I'm curious what happens. Does that just screw up the geese, or does something happen? Like I never thought about that. I assumed you'd shoot the last goose, right? But
I'm assuming. I mean, I know nothing about hunting. I want to learn, but I know nothing about hunting, and there
I would
has to
say
be
go with
strategies
Charlie
to
when
it.
he goes. What's that thing that Charlie went to where they went? Didn't he do a thing where they went some kind of hunting with birds
Oh
with
well, he went to
Canadian
see
maybe?
JFO's pheasant hunt. He went on seeing
Oh, that.
JFO's pheasant hunt. Yeah, so I live in a place that I share with dudes, so it's not going to be but so much meat I can put in a refrigerator or
Oh,
freezer.
okay.
And I think you have a limit anyway, like 4 or 5. It's not many.
Yeah, you
Heck of
can
an
stuff it.
adventure though. Yeah, yeah, believe me. It's just they also have the hog hunt. CNJFO, Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners, does cool stuff, including volunteer at my events. But they have a hog hunt once a year, and I think they have a pheasant hunt a couple times a year. While I was down in Knoxville, they had their cigar social, which it sucks that I missed, but I was still doing something else, Second Amendment related, with other friends, which is great. But yeah, the hunting thing, shooting birds, all interesting. Shotgun is a very versatile firearm. And I think you should have it if you want it. You should have one in your arsenal just based on that versatility alone. Because with the right load at the right distance, a shotgun can drop anything on legs in the North American continent. Your AR will not be able to do that. Your 9mm pistol won't be able to do that. I mean, you'd have to, in a handgun, you'd have to get to Magnum cartridges to be able to have something the same power as a 12 gauge, launching a Bernanke slug. And shoulder fired rifles, you'd pretty much have to get up to 500, maybe even more. Like, I don't think the lever action 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum will still have the same impact as a 12 gauge shotgun shell, but it might be close if you load the 700 grain flat tip bullet into it. But that's where you have to be to actually reach the power of a 12 gauge that you can buy for like $220.
Right. And then the controllability or the like ease or the like, you know what I mean? Like whatever you want to call those attributes. Like, yeah, you can make something as powerful, but then unless it's huge, it's not going to be as, I don't know, controllable, whatever you want to call, like usable, really.
The power that your 12 gauge can bring you can drop anything from small birds and animals to stop a grizzly. And to be able to have that much versatility, you need multiple firearms. And yeah, once you get to that grizzly 12 gauge hunk of metal being thrown as a slug, you're into like 30-06s and stuff. So you got a lot more recoil, a lot bigger gun, more money, because a shotgun slug usually costs between what, one and at the top end $3 for most of them, until you get into really specific stuff. And again, when you get into Bernanke, because I remember that one because they have some grizzly bear dropping slugs, I think you're like $3 a round, or at least it was back in the day. I was thinking about buying some just to have some because they were that crazy powerful, for no other reason than just to have it. Heck, I can look it up.
Well, the nice thing is with stuff like that, you don't buy it by the box at 25. You know, you buy it like
five.
Yeah,
it's 5.
So we said that you don't want to shoot the lead goose because that's going to be the toughest, the strongest. So I guess that makes sense. Like the most healthy, strong alpha. Yeah, that would be the one you'd probably, you know, it has a lot of muscle. But it's not going to be good muscle. Yeah. But I've never shot ducks either. I've never really thought about it. They don't really have them out here. And we just never did it when I was a kid, when there was ducks all over the place. I guess I didn't know anybody that did it. So if you, I don't know, like all expense paid trip, you won something and it's like you pick the hunting experience. So now it's money's no object. It's just a matter of what you pick. You know, you got any of an option that you know available to you. You got a preference, like what would you do in that situation? What kind of hunting would you go experience or do?
It's crazy because I never thought about it until you just asked the question. So it will probably be something, because if I want it, I want something that once in a lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, not many people get this. But
yeah, like caribou or fucking bear or something like that.
Yeah, like I don't want to be marching up and down a damn mountain all day because I'm not in that shape. I mean, I'm working on getting into better shape, and I know it's going to actually tick some real hunters off. But I'm like, buffalo. I'd go hunt a buffalo.
Yeah, buffaloes are tough because there's few of them. But actually, if you went to a buffalo ranch, you'd probably pay them and shoot a buffalo. But most buffalo hunts, you just drive up there and sit there. There's no buffaloes where you're running around looking for buffalo, really. They don't want you running around their territory, so you're just sitting there waiting for them.
Yeah, I mean, buffalo aren't that hard to hunt. It's a big animal. It's a part, to me, now this is me being corny, it's part of American history to me, even though the bison today aren't the same thing.
Yeah, they are.
And if I got to want...
Yeah, they are. The bison today are... I was watching a show about this. They're only like, they went down to like, I'm not even kidding, like 17 or some shit. Like they went down to a low number. It might not have been 17. It might have been a few herds of 17. But even when it started getting low, there was like multiple people that were like, this is a concern. I'm taking some buffalo and raising them at my house. And what happened is like enough of those people that just did it, and they're all over the country. Like people took the ones from the zoo in New Jersey or something, and then other people had ranches in Texas. Anyway, years later, when maybe like in the 80s or 90s or some shit, when we all thought buffaloes were extinct, somebody went around and said, where did you get your buffaloes? Where'd you get your buffaloes? And everybody figured out all of their buffaloes came from the original buffaloes, and where else are they going to mix with? So they're all still original buffaloes. It's just that they all got dispersed, and now they're back. Like people buy them and sell them. And anyway, so not to interrupt too much, but it turns out that most of our buffaloes are still our buffaloes. But go ahead.
So
and
for me,
because they're on like farms and shit. But go ahead.
Yeah, they're protected now, and the reason they were wiped out is because it was the target of U.S. government denying food to indigenous people, so you can control them. Hello. Anyway.
Well, it also happened to work out because when you bring in cows and make a shit ton of money on pulling cows and shit, you don't want all that cow competition. So it worked out.
It worked out like they wanted it to work out. But anyway, my whole point is it's part of American culture, American freedom. And if I'm going on one hunt and I'm that dude, I'd love to, especially if everything's included, right? I'd like the buffalo hide. If you could make a coat, a throw or something with it, I'd like to mount the head, if not the head, the skull and the horns. Like all that to me would be like part of an amazing adventure. And they'd probably be an entire room dedicated to it. You know how people go on vacations to the islands and scuba dive once, and next thing you know, that's their whole damn personality. I'd probably put it in, I'd go to one buffalo hunt, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'm the dude that's into Southwest jewelry. I got turquoise things and a freaking
what do you call that?
A bolo.
Yeah, bolo. You're walking around with a bolo all the
time. Like that would all of a sudden, I'm freaking Chief Eat a Donut, and I'm just walking around like, well, you have to understand the Native Americans, indigenous people. It's like, stop it. You went on one hunt, dude. But I'd love to do that because I think it is cool. And for a long time, this is the crazy thing, and maybe some people don't know it. I thought my family was part Native American. Okay. This is something I didn't know that I learned later on. It was a thing after blacks became free, that it was like an embarrassing thing to say you were mixed with white people, because that meant you were forced to have sex with white. Like it was looked down upon in the black community. So a lot of mixed black people that had straighter hair, lighter skin would say they were part Native American instead of they were just mixed. I didn't know that. So I grew up believing that my grandma, well, my great grandmother, and of course my grandma were part Native American because that's what was told. I found out in the last 5 years that what it was going back to immediately after the Civil War. My great grandfather married an Irish woman. So it was not Native American. He was married to a white woman post Civil War, and they had some kids. She passed away, and because he's my great grandfather, I come from a long line of player ass dudes. He married her sister, and that was my great grandmother's mom. So yeah, my great grandmother's Irish
all the time, from what I understand. Like families were close, and it's not like you had a shitload of options. Yeah.
Well, people don't understand that post Civil War, all the ignorant ass people that talk about the boogaloo and actually meaning it and not tongue in cheek, like most of us sane people, don't understand how the population of males were affected by the Civil War. How many were killed and didn't come back home, or didn't come back home with the ability to reproduce either mentally or physically.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. It was like 70% of the country's males or some shit, right?
Yeah, they took a hit, and there were just no dudes available. So yeah, marrying a sister, having interesting, what do you call them? Thruples. Ain't new. I love everybody to act like everything is new and shocking. No. Civil War, post Civil War, there were thruples. There were dudes that had more than one family, and they were living in the same house. So they were her sister, and she had kids. Well, where was her husband? You never asked those questions. that kind of thing. Oh, he was killed in a war.
In the days where you could just go to the 3 towns over and be like, I'm this guy, and then go 3 towns over and be like, I'm this other guy, and have like whole different, like, who would ever know?
Whole different. Nobody knows. So yeah, I'm a salesman, a dude running from family to family. Who knows what he does for a living? But that's the crazy thing. So yeah, I didn't come from a family of Native Americans. I came from a family of black dudes that hooked up with Irish sisters. And that's just funny to me because now my wife, of course, is Irish, Hungarian, and whatever else. But I'm like, hey, we're closer related than I thought. We all come from the Emerald Isle, babe. I guess somebody had to teach you guys how to fry potatoes.
I've heard of that after the Civil War, a bunch of freed blacks would go to the Indian Territories, which was Oklahoma back in the day. And especially if they just want to get the fuck away from people, right? And go out and get a fresh start and all that. So, aside from what you were just illuminating there, I'd never heard of that before. But that makes sense. Like, obviously, that can be an issue for people and stuff. But I could totally see where there's all kinds of mixes, because once you get into the Indian Territories, there was all the different nations, and then outlaws, and then people that were just people like running stores and doing the town. There were still towns, like people still were out there doing things. It's just that it wasn't a territory. It was called for a long time Oklahoma was called the Indian Nations, I guess is all they called it. But essentially, it was just it's still a bunch of people out there. So it's just that there was a more mix with the freed blacks, and then the
free slaves,
that had to go there because of the nations. Oh, and then I forgot about Mexicans.
Because Mexicans were there when that part would belong to Spain or was part of Mexico. People forget that. It's like everybody didn't. I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, everybody didn't leave when it turned into freaking America after Mexico, ceded that land over. There were, and I still remember one guy called into a radio station. They were talking about you Mexicans. He had somebody say that to him one day. He was like, Mexicans? I said, understand, my parents still have the deed to the land that we live on in Texas from the King of Spain. It's like we were here prior to it becoming America, so we can check dates, but we were here first. I'm like, dang, because somebody dropped that whole "go back to where you come from," and he was like, "Yeah, I'm in Texas. I'm in Texas. I am where we come from."
Like 5 generations before you came over here and claimed to be from here, like we were already.
Before. Yeah, we have. He said we have the lease from the King of Spain. I'm like, yo, that thing better be in a fireproof safe and a fireproof box, because that's got to be.
There's probably a lot of those. I mean, not a lot, but there probably are some of those, I should say, in whatever we call Texas now because of like that. Yeah, I mean,
Texas, California, Colorado.
Well, I'm just saying Texas specifically because it's been so many nations that, you know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, you should probably still have stuff from the German government because of who ran Mexico for a while. Also the French. Most people don't know anything about history at all, so that Irish guy, Tony.
That's gonna be your new thing.
Yeah, I'm Irish now.
Biggest pound for pound Irish Second Amendment advocate.
Yeah, I got to start talking like not with a Boston accent, but just throwing the words in like I'm from there. Like the really annoying people that go on vacation and come back with the accent of wherever they went to.
Take back
like,
or take the clover from Clover Tack. Start using it all over the place.
Oh yeah. You have me hanging out the car with the clover. Just it becomes my identity. I thought it was pretty cool.
Though. Whenever you guys were both on the show, that's why you're always drinking Irish coffee every time. Now it makes sense.
Nice. I had Irish coffee for the first time a couple years ago. Holy crap. I mean, I'm sure you can make it strong or weak, but the lady that was making my drink, whew, I'm
I
like,
don't know. I must have been down the rabbit hole of watching because I spend too much time on the Instagram sometimes when you get into the reels or whatever they're called, the little videos.
Yep.
Because it'll start feeding you what other people watch, and other people watch weird shit. So I'm watching, just a stream of weird shit. Anyway, they came up with drinks one night, so I ended up watching too many, or waited too long looking at a drink. So I started showing me all these different bar drinks, and they showed an Irish coffee, and it got me because they were doing something, probably caramelizing it or something, but they did something up front, essentially squirting some kind of caramel into the cup or drink or whatever, and then putting in the rest of the stuff. And then, but they put in all the liquid, I guess the coffee and stuff, and then they put a dollop of stuff on top. And every time I've ever had it is like in a cheesy restaurant, or not a restaurant, but like a cheesy bar. And it was just some bartender who took coffee and put whatever they put in it, rum. I don't know what they put in it, Irish cream or something.
Yeah, Irish whiskey. Yeah,
some kind of booze, right? And I don't know nothing about booze, so it's not like I'm even paying attention. But every once in a while, if I want to drink, right, I'll order a drink. I just don't care what's in it necessarily. But anyhow, so I watched this thing being made, and I'm like, damn, it made me want one. Like, I'm like, I just want to try that because it looks totally different than whatever I had, which was essentially like the Walgreens version of one.
Yeah, getting your Irish coffee at freaking Bennigan's or Chili's ain't the same. I had this lady who was look, I know nothing. You know what I'm saying? So to me, she looked like an aficionado that knew how to build a drink. And that was her thing. In the wintertime, we sat outside and drink Irish coffee. And holy crap, that set me on my ass. She was like, want another one? I'm like, hell no. Because now I'm drunk and wide awake. I don't know how you do this.
That's true.
These two feelings should not go together.
Let's see. We did have a real question here from Carmen, I guess. Anyone know who the best 2A choice is in Massachusetts U.S. Senate primary? I definitely do not. But I'm definitely going to recommend you check out Cape Gunworks, of course. I might recommend the Grace Curley show. Toby does her show on Tuesdays. It sounds like that's a radio show in Boston that's a political show. And I suspect they probably spend more time talking about candidates and stuff. As far as the 2A, I'll bet you it's few, unfortunately. It sounds like Massachusetts is pretty heavily Democrat. And judging from... I just don't have any indication to think that Massachusetts is ready to educate Democrats, let's say. But, until Democrats are educated that they can fight with themselves about guns, they don't have to walk in lockstep. I don't think you've got much choice in Massachusetts. Now, from what I understand, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say from what I understand. I don't know if the Massachusetts Republicans are any better. Like, I don't want to assume that they're better just because who knows what it's like there. So no, I'm just talking air here. I'm just wasting air. I don't know.
Nope, I 100% agree with you. You're going to have to look it up by listening to, truthfully, Cape Gunworks might be a good idea. Shoot Toby an email if you can. This podcast an email, but also contact your Second Amendment organization there and see if they recommend anybody.
Yeah,
Goals.
Gun Owners Action League is the state level one in Massachusetts. They probably have, most state level organizations will have a election guide or whatever they call it.
Hey, I just found this collapsible folding all-terrain wagon on Harbor Freight.
How much?
For $99.
Ouch. I'm trying to get one for free.
You can. Remember, it only costs $99 if you stop at the register.
I'm trying to get one for free by begging for one. So if I can do that, I'll definitely keep you in mind and send you one, unless you're urgently going to get one. But yeah, I can understand.
Yeah,
you could use one.
Yeah, I just got to unload this vehicle, and I'm like, if I have it, I got it. I can unload the vehicle. It makes it easy to bring the firearms and the ammo back in once I'm done instead of multiple trips in the middle of the night. When I get here at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden I'm on high alert because what I'm transporting that nobody knows I have. But to me, I feel like I have a neon light. This guy's bringing guns and ammo in. So yeah. What? Oh
So he's dealing
yeah.
with the election against Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, I had no idea she was in Massachusetts because I only became aware of her with the whole um, people
Native
making
American.
fun of her for the Indian stuff, Native American
Yeah.
stuff. Um, I
Mhm.
assumed she was like in Nebraska or Dakotas or something. Like I assumed she was in one of the states where she was using that as like a some kind of
No, no, no. She
some
she did, she was in one of those states. I think she went to Harvard. She was in one of those states that nobody ever seen a Native American. That's why she was able to get away with that. She was in Nebraska. They'd have been like, "Nope, no, you're not." No, I'm 186. No, you're not. That don't count. Sorry, not here.
yeah, where
Keep
they
it moving.
actually care. They actually do. They know exactly who's who and who's what and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But you're in a place that they don't see any, and they're trying to be. Oh, we need to show how inclusive we are by bringing in a Native American, and this girl says she is one. Okay, that's how she got in. I'm sure they didn't check too much into it to find out that she was what 186. I'm like, man, I'm more Irish than that. I'm more
Well, I mean,
Irish
I
as
don't
he is
know.
Native American.
Some of the nations have water rights, or they have gambling, or they'll have mineral something, or they'll have some sort of a income source, and then
Mm-hmm.
anybody who's in part of that nation, right, is entitled to a stipend every month. So that's where
Yeah.
it becomes a big issue. And obviously, if you're 100%, you get this much. If you're 50%, and if you're 182nd, and they'll get down. I mean, I don't want to become an expert on this or claim I'm an expert, but I mean, they'll make sure everybody's entitled to a slice. And once your slice is so narrow, then you know what I'm saying. I have no idea where it ends, but that's how they can get to. I mean, 82nd isn't even all that big. I've heard of 256th or something still being monitored, kind of thing. So I don't know how many generations that is, but what happens is it gets exponential pretty quick, right? Like a grandson's grandson's grandson, it becomes 182nd or something. I don't know the numbers, but
Hey, that
it
works
gets,
for me if it's real.
well, no, that's
If
the
it's
thing. It's
real.
so it makes a big difference when there's $1 million to divide between all these people who have a claim. Then it really matters that you have a real claim or not. And
Hey,
sometimes it's way more than $1 million. I'm sure. But that's what I'm
hey,
saying. I bet you she's able to do that because I assumed that she was in some state where they, like I say, where they care about it. They might monitor it. But if she's somewhere where
Mhm.
there isn't that kind of situation going on, then it's probably more of a opportunity or a potential for people to just want to be part of a group, right, and say that they are. I don't know what her deal is, but I know that I've known people throughout my life that are like, I claim to be this or I claim to be that because it's cool or something.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I just told my thing, I didn't know. Now I do, and I still think it's cool because there was family history I was unaware of.
And you did this without having to do the, what do they call that,
23
DNA
and me.
swab? Yeah.
Yeah, it ends up it was real easy to track, but you'd have to talk to the older generation. Again,
Mm-hmm.
every time there's a funeral, tea gets spilled because the truth comes out, and
Good
that
point.
was that particular truth. Yeah, that
We didn't want to say
oh,
nothing
that's
until he died, but
yeah. He couldn't keep it in his pants. He was running around everywhere. Yeah. Do you know you're Irish? What?
you've got you got cousins.
Yeah, you got cousins in
Or those
Benadryl.
cousins are those cousins aren't cousins.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've had that. And it's a joke that I started telling because I had two uncles that were really attractive dudes that got around a lot. And I make it a joke that I was scared to date in high school because if she was black, she was probably related to me. If she was black and attractive, she was probably already related to me. Because my uncles were dogs and they were great uncles. So they were older, you know what I mean? They were World War II generation dudes.
Well, when you're talking about
So
that, same kind of thing happened with World War II. A lot of people didn't come home, so
mhm,
there was a lot of means
options.
available. Yeah.
So those were my uncles. And when you think about it, there's two handsome dudes that work, that make decent money farming, but they're on the road a lot. They're out. You go out when the sun comes before the sun comes up, and you come back when the sun goes down. And when you run to town, you're there. No one's keeping track of you. There ain't no cell phone. You go into town, you're there all day. So I just have lots of cousins. Let's just put it that way. That we all grew up together, we all played together, we all everything, and we called each other cousins, but we actually were. That's just the way it
Right.
was,
Well,
and it was socially. I don't know if it's socially. It was known. Some things were known, and it was just that's the way it is.
well, like you say, the
Like it
grandmas
is.
knew it, and they might have gossiped about
Mm-hmm.
it, but they weren't going to say nothing until people passed away. That's what we started on this whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. So, did we
Yep.
already talk last? Did we have a show last week?
No, I was at goals.
Oh shit! That fast forwarded on me. So last week was goals. So we didn't really even talk about goals. Next week, I got
Yeah,
to go somewhere now, so I got to start wrapping it up. But
no
because of
problem.
this place closes in like an hour, and I want to make sure I get there. But yeah, I wasn't sure, and we were talking about something else before that happened. There's more immediate, I guess. You know, goals. We can talk about goals forever, and we were talking about goals a little bit before the chat, but I wasn't sure if we had already talked. Because the thing is, I've been in at least one chat talking with Clover about goals, and then I've watched probably 3 or 4 chats about goals, and you might have been in one of those or not. So I just wasn't sure if we had talked about goals. So we'll talk about goals next week because I do want to talk more about it and hear someone who was actually there, if you don't mind. And
Yeah.
but we'll wrap this one up and then kind of throw that on the agenda for next week. However, anybody that wants to ask questions, or if you know people who might get value from hearing our opinion on a question or an answer, send them over to askgunquestions.com. It's free. It's just a thing. I'm not collecting any addresses or anything there. You just type in the question there and it'll go into a spreadsheet. And every once in a while, we look at that spreadsheet while we're live. We're trying not to just ramble on, but half the time we ramble on because we don't get a ton of questions over there. Like there's no incentive. You're not going to win anything, but it will give us something to chat about. And if you do want to hear perspective of old guys that neither one of us are really getting paid to sell you anything or push you in any direction. We have our preferences and our opinions, but you'll get the real deal. That being said, thanks to Gear Report for showing up and the other people that showed up live. And Gabriel was out there, Carmen, asking the questions about Massachusetts. I do feel bad about what's happening there. I really wish our national level organizations took on the challenge of uniting our resources or making our resources more effective throughout the country, because we have a lot of people who are essentially sitting here with interest in what happens in Massachusetts. We have ability to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We all have either people that we know that live there, family that lives there. We might do business there. We might travel there on vacation. We might be making those kind of decisions. We might buy products from there. We might somebody had said before, we might have people, I think Tony was mentioning this, like we might have people that have moved from there or that are moving there, so we all might have different influence or interest in these states that are getting abused right now. But one of the ways they're getting abused is misinformation. The other side, the anti-rights group, exploits the misinformation, and that's frustrating. So awareness is important. But the other thing is they divide us and conquer by keeping states like Massachusetts, California, New Jersey, etc., on the defensive, and it lets the other states have the opinion or the attitude of, well, maybe you shouldn't let yourselves get like that, or maybe you should move, or whatever. And instead of that dynamic, that paradigm, we could easily change that by just having other options. And there's our national level organizations that really have the opportunity to do this. I don't know if they just never felt the challenge or if they feel it's not worthy. I doubt it's that. I think it's just they've never decided to take it on. But sister states, encouraging people to be involved in states like Massachusetts, either at the we call it the legislative level, like contacting the senators and letting them know, I do business there. I'm never going to vacation there or whatever. I'm not going to buy products from there anymore. Or maybe talking to the companies, I'm not going to do business with you anymore. And here's why. It's because of your politics. And you either help change your politics or lose my business. And that might be a dick thing to do, but maybe it isn't. Like, I don't know. But I'd like to see somebody coordinate or at least encourage this concept, because it sucks to watch states fall alone. Okay, I'll shut up. Sorry. Go ahead.
I get so frustrated with the gun community because we're not canceling anyone. We're not the cancel culture. Well, your political enemies are. And maybe it's time for us to pull the head out of our ass and stop doing, I guess, what some people go is the gentlemanly thing or, hey, look, jerk offs. Even in Vietnam, when you saw yourself losing, when we had to deal with things, we changed up special forces. We got them to go into smaller units. We created SOG, and we learned to out guerrilla the gorilla. That was actually a thing that was said because we're good at it. As Americans, we can adapt and overcome, but we have to get in the mindset
Yeah.
to do it. We're not doing it. We're somehow think there's some moral high ground over losing all the time. So when people say, why don't you just move to a free state? I'm looking at them like, you don't even see what's happening and you're looking at it. So if the people of America, of all these free states, would have backed Californians in getting rid of anti-gun people, right? Anybody who ran on a national level for anti-gun, and if they were anti-gun and said they were anti-gun or passed anti-gun legislation, if we just crushed their hopes and dreams by donating across the country to pro-gun candidates, we wouldn't have the woman we have running for president right now. If we crushed anti-gun governors, we wouldn't have the dude who's running for vice president with her right now. But you keep telling people, well, why don't you just leave? Or I don't live in Minnesota, so that doesn't have anything to do with me. Well, he's running for vice president right now from Minnesota. She's running for president right now from California. Everything has something to do. Your state, your free state, is not an island. We're all interconnected. We need to help each other. And yeah, much like you, I don't understand how nobody says this on a national level. I think, and I think the reason is all the big organizations have their own strategies, and the bigger they are, the slower they are to shift those strategies or even be motivated to shift those strategies. So we have to do it as individuals. We are a lot bigger than these organizations. What, they're 80 million to 40 million gun owners, depends on whichever count you use. But that dwarfs the number of any of these organizations. We have to get together and go, you know what? We don't need an organization. I'll donate to anybody who's running against Elizabeth Warren that's pro-gun. Find out who it is, put it out there. Let's donate. And again, if you do it nationally, you can do $5 a piece over 40 million people. These people will have TV ads every 30 seconds. like you could crush with that. We have to work on something to get all of us together and not depend on national organizations. We can do it on our own without the money being filtered through other organizations with different priorities. We just can. I don't know what it takes. Look, I'm doing the diversity shoot now. I'm doing what I can do. Maybe after I do that and get the whole hunting thing started, maybe the third thing I'll do in Second Amendment advocacy is try to put together a national organization that just backs actual pro 2A people. Yeah, that'll be my next move. Anybody gets on it before me, you're welcome to it.
That would be a good one, I think. Having I've thought about that. Remember Artisan Tony, the friend Tony out there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he's doing these days, but he had a thing called the. Wait, look at my wall because we did a patch for it. The 2A Fund, and that was essentially a fund so people could contribute monthly to it, and then each month they would take essentially whatever was raised and give it to an organization or a group or an individual that was doing something of worth. So I think that's amazing. Like that's something that, we have the concept of crowdfunding, and we've done all kinds of successful crowdfunding things working on the crowdfunding platforms with a pro 2A message is always valuable. That's one of the reasons I did so many of them on those platforms instead of doing them off or by myself or something. I did them on the platform so they'd be to help normalize guns type of thing. So doing it on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, I think is epic. So Tony wasn't able to do it for lots of reasons, right? And like I say, I think that's something that's easier said than done. Some of the more easy things to say turn to be very complex, obviously, in the long run or whatever. But yeah, I think that would be so easy to do and so potentially lucrative, if that's the right word. Like there's so much. So if 1,000 people participated with $5 a month, which
Mm-hmm.
is not that much, what is that, $60 a year? So if
Yeah,
what I just said, 1,000 people, that's $5,000 go into
a
something, and
month.
that's like a different grant essentially. Like, and maybe you said, all right, we're going to do $100 to this Patreon effort, and then the next $100 raise goes to this Patreon effort. So now you could do it as bursts, like how much money we raise goes to one group, or you could say, like I say, you just start supporting different organizations at some level, 50 or $100 a month, and you let them know that, like, as long as we have support, you'll continue to get this support, and then that way, because there's getting $5,000 is great. And for some projects and some people, that's perfect. But for other people, that'd be like, well, I don't really need $5,000 right now, and I don't really want the tax liability necessarily. But if I knew that there was $500 a month coming in, then I could subscribe to this, or I could have this taken care of by a subcontractor, or like I could have my brother-in-law help me with this, and I could give him $100 because I know I could pay for that with this funding. Like, what I mean? Like some people would, I think, just use it different, or have different uses for the income. But anyway, why does it even matter? Like, all that is inconsequential in 2024. Like anything PayPal, something as simple as PayPal could accommodate all of that and more. But there's already things like Patreon. There's like so many ways that you could accomplish that. Just having somebody could have a Patreon and start that, and then each month just tell everybody, here's what came in. $1,000 came in, and we sent $100 to these 10 people, or $1,000 came in, we gave $500 to this, and $100 to these 5 people, or whatever the math is.
And understand, is the lower you go in the government, as in the closer you get to the people, the less money it takes to make a difference in an election, and the more personal the connection becomes. So yeah, your town council, you'll see them around town. And an election for town council is just making up signs. They don't have to run TV commercials. So what is that? $500 can pay for the signs for their campaign, or $1,000 can put them in like a crap ton of yards, their signs. I'm like, the closer you get to grassroots, the closer you get to your hometown, again, all politics are local, the more effect your little $5 would have. The more I'm saying it, the more I think it can be something that's done in each state. Oh, great. I'm creating another project in my head as this one ain't even going ahead. But all right. All right. Hey, listen, we got to close out. Second is for everyone is with the number second for everyone on Twitter.
But hold on. I gotta show you this thing first before we wrap it up. So I'm just looking at this new infographic, so everybody can get ready for this.
What the hell? Wow.
No big deal. Just a bunch of missiles launching out of the back of a pickup truck real quick, like. Oh, wait, no, they're not missiles. Oh, wait, they're drones. Oh, wait, they're the drones that just set and wait for their commands.
Wow.
Oh, I see. They're targeting drones. So they're telling you what's up and then delivering ordnance down upon whatever they feel like anytime they want out of a back of a pickup truck. And this isn't necessarily the end of their mission. You know what I mean? Like, this is just their first strike. Maybe they have 2 ordnance on board and they can do this twice or something. But these persistent munitions, first I saw this and I was like, ooh, I'm a big fan of these drones that are persistent. They'll just go up and live up in the air for 12 hours. And then if they're needed, they're there. But if they're not needed, they just come back to Earth or they crash or something. But this is incorporating it with a swarm. Yeah.
We've had this technology since I read the Tom Clancy book on artillery. The real book, not the fiction, that he did on artillery. He did on submarines. And one of the things we had was called the Jabberwocky. And it was artillery shell launched by a 155. And it would pop up and it would loiter over an area and jam all radio signals.
Fuck yeah.
So this was 1989, 1990. So yeah, to have, and they also had ones back then that should be able to read a tank from a truck, and it would carry shape charges on it, and it itself would dive down onto a target when it read it, if that target was programmed into it, and that was 35 years ago. So it's probably just smaller and better now, as you can see from this. That is
That's
crazy.
a good point.
And funny.
The Fortuchuka has it's the language and what are they? Their language. They fly drones there, and I think they have spies there or something. But they have a spy museum at Fortuchuka, and the spy museum has a drone I forgot about until you said that, and it's from like World War II era, and it's nowhere near as big as those. I think what they were called the Predator drones, like the ones that we were actually using to drop ordnance and stuff that were almost as big as an airplane. This thing is like really big. It's way bigger than the size of like a remote control airplane that any normal person would have. It's like something the Navy would have to shoot at, like and that's probably what it started as. I think that's actually what it was. But anyway, it's something that's like smaller than an airplane. It's kind of like the size of that airplane in that one James Bond movie. It's like a tiny airplane, but because there's nobody in it, they just made it even smaller. Anyway, and all it did was drive around and probably radio jam or be an antenna. So it wasn't doing anything cool, but that was like from, I don't know, long ass time ago, World War II or some shit. So you're right that we've had drones or whatever for a long time. I think if you count like balloons, we probably had them for a long time too. But because I think even in the Civil War, we were inflating balloons and sending people out to see what the fuck is up with the troops and stuff. I don't know if that's called a drone or not.
Yep.
Well, I guess if they were sending up a balloon by itself with some sort of, I don't know what they would have done back in the day, though. So anyway, I'm just speculating at this point. Mike White is bringing up, I saw it today with a rally that we all have our own agenda and fight amongst each other. Yep, unfortunately, I would have to agree. I don't want to bring it up too much, but I suspect Mike was watching the same thing I was watching earlier. And there, I will message Mike White on Instagram. I think you're on Instagram, right? With a link to something about something that'll happen this evening in a relation to what you're talking about. But hey, we Mike, have come a long way, but we. Huh?
Well, did I meet Mike at GOA?
Probably not. He's in San Diego. Oh, he's in California.
Oh, hold on. Yeah. I met one of the guys we talked to a lot at GOA.
You're thinking of Rich White. Rich White.
All right.
Oh, no, he says yes to No, hold on.
All right, cool.
No. I think he's saying, like, what did you... we're just working on the delay. He's in California. Now, you're not going to Gun Rights Policy Conference?
No.
So
no,
he would
they asked me to speak. They asked me to speak, and I got to write back because I ran into one of the guys, because Gun Rights Policy Conference is SAF. Yeah. And Adam, of course, is a friend of mine. And he asked, and I freaking forgot the email. So one of the guys, Matt, was there at GOA. And he was like, yeah, Adam said you never got back to him. And now I'm kind of embarrassed because I'm like, unless they're flying me out to California, and I really don't plan it. You know what I'm saying? I can hopefully do it online, and I can speak that way. But yeah, I want to get there, but we got to plan it better. We have to plan it better. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Richard White. Yeah, it's Richard White. I'm at GOA. The White family's getting out there, bro. What can I say?
Yep. Is Rich White? Oh, you're not on Instagram. Where the hell am I going to send you this text then? I can't message. That's what's lame about YouTube. I don't know why they don't let us message each other on YouTube. I'll just send you an email. I think I have your email. But it won't do you any good because it's an Instagram thing that I was going to send you. So essentially, I'll tell you that at 8 p.m. tonight, he said he's going to live stream. The person I think you're talking about is going to live stream at 8 p.m. Wait, is that what it said? Yeah, 8 p.m. Now, I'm assuming that means Massachusetts time because a lot of people on the East Coast don't think about the other time zones, right? So 5 o'clock our time, which is another reason I should end this because I got to go to the thing and be back by 5. But which means like, in this hour. But anyway, so kind of narrow casting out there to Mike. Yeah, there's going to be a live stream on his channel. I'm assuming on his YouTube. Maybe it's on Instagram. I hope it's not on Instagram. I personally don't like watching stuff on my phone, and it's a pain to watch Instagram. I just don't remember to watch Instagram. YouTube, I'm always on it. So when something happens, I'm like, oh yeah, the thing's on Instagram. You know, it's happening. Like I see it. So I always miss stuff on Instagram. But here nor there, I don't know if we're ever going to bring that up on this show or not. But maybe we'll end up having. Hopefully, we'll have shows that talk about what happened today without getting more into it than that. But yeah, thanks, Tony, for your time. And thanks for the, well, what did you say? Sorry, the one that's the next diversity shoot. Why don't you take the rest of the show?
Next diversity shoot. Of course, you'd ask me about it when I don't have it up, but the next diversity shoot is 19 days away on the 12th, I think, the second Thursday in September. DiversityShoot.com. Here we go. Second Thursday in September, and then the other one is on the 26th of September. So the very next one is going to be in Monroe. The very next one is going to be at Recoil Range in Monroe on September 12th. The one after that is going to be September 26th at We Shoot. Both of them are up on Eventbrite now. So if you get my emails, you've already received them. If you don't get my emails, please go to eventbrite.com and just click on my name, Tony Simon, put it in. You'll see my beautiful, handsome face wearing my 2A4E shirt. There can't be many more things to tell you you're at the right place than that. But that would allow you to get the emails whenever we have one of these available, and then you can share them with your social circle. I'm going to ask you guys to do this, not just for me, but for any other advocate, gun shop, business, Second Amendment advocate that you want to support. Use your social media to put them out there. It has helped me to the point that IG looks stupid now because they say, and I screenshot it the other day, I screenshot it yesterday, that because of my content violating community standards, which they don't, only followers will be able to see my content. But then when I click on my stats, it shows like 70% of my contact are seen by non-followers. And it's because you guys have been sharing my posts. I've been asking, and people have been sharing it. So it takes it from you, my follower, and it puts it out that other people can see it that aren't my followers. So
it makes
please,
you still discoverable.
Yeah, it makes me be able to be seen, even though I won't be in anything recommended and I won't be on anyone's For You page. I will get out there. So I went and read their things, and nothing I'm doing violates their policy except when I do the screenshots of a tweet and just put music to it. That actually violates one of their community standards because of how they have it. They're just having a tweet that's a picture of words. It is something they don't like. But firearms has nothing to do with what they have written, but they don't follow their own community standards. So I don't want to play that game. Just share my post, share Maj's post, share any Second Amendment organization's post. And this is what I said to GOA, and I'll say it on here. If you show your damn cat or your damn lunch, you could show political things you believe in. If it's like what I do, this has nothing to do with any party. This has to do with a civil right. If it's going to cause you a problem at work or something like that, totally understand why you don't do it. But if you're not sharing the things that you say you support, what are you doing? It's easy enough to share it. It's easy enough to put it on your Facebook posts. It's easy enough to share it to your stories. If your Facebook and your IG are in sync, you can just put it on your Instagram story and it'll show up on your Facebook page too. Put in a little work to actually promote the things you believe in. And if you're worried about being on a list, you're already on the list. You're an adult. You're on a list already. We talk about it a lot. You and I have talked about it, G. A lot of people think if they go back and they look at themselves in the history books, they'd be fighting beside Mel Gibson, either in Braveheart or in The Patriot. Well, we're still fighting for those civil rights. You know what I mean? That Martin Luther King marched for. We're just fighting for them for everyone now. And you're not even sharing it on Instagram, which is pretty much painless. I'm not asking you to march to Selma. I'm just asking you to share the work of others that are in the fight that you believe in. I'm not even telling you to do stuff what you believe in, people that you've looked at and you want to promote. Promote it on your social media. Your whole page doesn't have to become it. You can do it once a week. You can have Freedom Frickin' Friday, where you promote somebody that fights for freedoms that you believe in. But it helps get them out there to be seen by others. So that's what I'll ask you to do. Diversityshoot.com is where you can find me and you can support the work we do. Go out there and be that hero that you want to be by using the assets that are available that cost you $0.
All right. So after I said you can have the last word, I'm going to take the last word anyway. So, but I don't want to interrupt you there because essentially everything you said, right? But then in addition, a lot of people I think might think, one, my audience isn't large enough, so what's the point? Or two, my audience doesn't care about this, so what's the point? So it's sort of like shuffling something into the mail or to a song list on a radio station. If it's not going to be something that turns your audience away, like they hear Tony's 2A for E, or the diversity shoot, I guess, like an event notification, or Suicide Prevention Saturday, some alert to some advocacy that you feel is of worth. If the people aren't going to like flee from it, or like Tony said, you're not going to get persecuted at work or something from it, then there's really no harm because it's not going to affect your audience. And it's not that your audience is Tony's objective necessarily. And you said this, I'm just saying it in a different way. But by the act of doing that, you're engaging the mechanism of the internet. The way that the internet works is it's nothing more than like a bunch of scales and buttons and measurements. So one of the things it can measure is what you look at and how long you look at it. Another thing it can measure is what you link to and all these different things. So actions and things that happen on the internet, decisions and actions that people make on the internet can be measured. And these are what determine how successful Tony's channel will be. So when he gets some kind of a situation where it's difficult for him to find or be discovered by new channels or people, then by us helping, by including it in our stream, in other words, is what I mean by helping, just including a post once in a while, you're engaging the mechanism. And even if your audience doesn't all go, oh, wow, now we know about Tony, let's all flock over there. That's not even the goal, really. It's just to engage the mechanism so that when the mechanism says, we need to send somebody to a place in New Jersey, where are we going to send them? Now Tony's on the list instead of being ignored. And now if the situation is right, a new gun owner going to northern New Jersey, we found the perfect spot, go to Diversity Shoot. And now everything works. So it's not that you are sending your audience over or that your size of your audience is going to make it or break it for Tony. It's just that by having more and more channels acknowledging that Tony exists, it puts him back into the search ranks or the browsing logarithm or whatever it is. And he gets a fair shot at being discovered, which is all that we're trying to do, is get discovered by people that are looking for Tony, because the internet's not stupid. It's not going to send somebody to Tony that's shopping for carrots in Brunswick, England. It's going to send somebody to Tony who lives in New Jersey and is looking for an introduction to guns. And the problem is that with Tony not being included in the results, it's very difficult for them to be matched up. So our efforts, by sharing occasionally and by letting other people know this, hopefully less long-winded than this, but encouraging other people to participate. You're not trying to get their whole audience to give a shit about Tony or his project. We don't even live in New Jersey, for crying out loud, but I post this thing every week as much as I can. I try to repost. It's easier on X to repost because I can actually do it with the click of a button. On Instagram, I was going to ask you if you have an Instagram repost thing, because I haven't used one in years and I really need to, because I used to repost my own stuff. It's so much easier to just repost your own posts, like for Free Patch Friday or something once in a while, something that you're going to do repetitively. But it really helps for, like, Tony's asking us to share his stuff. If you got a repost app, it makes it way easier on Instagram, and I just haven't used one in so long. I need to know which one to use.
Yeah, mine was repost IG, whatever it was. It started acting weird and giving me some Chinese ads, so I took it off my phone. But yeah, repost is easy. You hit it, you click it, and it reposts the whole thing. including, I think, the original writing of the person that put it there. So it's real easy to put the message back out. Again, anything you believe in, put it out there because everybody can use the help of spreading the word about what the work they're doing, especially if it's freedom related, because that's all verboten, regardless. It's just something that the internet is not rewarding and not looking for.
I'm going to throw another level on there since Jeff is out there and just thinking about the different projects people are doing and stuff. If we don't, so the internet is just a bunch of stuff, right? And it's changed over the years, and it changes because of technology, and it changes because of our preferences, and it changes because of all kinds of things. It sucks when it changes because of somebody's forcing us to change, but more often, and it constantly changes just due to us being humans and having a free will and everything. Every once in a while, we're pushed around or manipulated by like, a new product or like an interest in something dumb like 9mm. But for the most part, we're constantly kind of bumping around out there. What I was getting at is that, dang it, where was I going to get at with this now? Stupid 9mm caught me off topic there. The fact that, dang it, well, we're getting too far into the show. I should probably not try to keep going with this one.
Yeah, you're supposed to be getting out of there, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I was going to say something that, we have, because it's not presented to us, we just don't realize that we have options. So most people that are going live right now, unfortunately, are going live with a recipe that either they've got in their head or that they've come up with because they think it's going to be effective. But very rarely are people just being creative and doing stuff. And we had a while where that was the case. And I'm not saying it was better. I'm just saying that when that was the case and more people were being creative with their shows, we had some experimentation. And there was a lot more sharing of other people's projects. Like there was a time there, I'm going to probably say from like 14 to 18, when people were genuinely all just enjoying the internet, building different projects, sharing each other's. We weren't in this there wasn't a lot of competition amongst people. There were little glitches of competition, but for the most part, many people that I'm aware of were all just sort of doing their thing, and were more than happy to jump on each other's show and be part of each other's projects and collaborate and stuff. And then, unfortunately, most of those people are gone because they didn't have ambition and they didn't have like goals set, and they didn't like work towards those goals and become, financially independent or anything like that. So life and interests changed and they just kind of came and went. But so I'm saying there's been like times where that was more of a thing. And in those times, the idea of like sharing each other's show didn't need to be asked for because it was just a thing. People did it. I don't know. I don't think anybody was doing it for the reason other than they wanted to share something cool that they found. Now, unintentionally, they were doing all the stuff I talked about. They were engaging all these mechanisms. And when people start sharing stuff, that's how stuff goes viral. That's literally the definition of viral. So when you create like an environment for that, you had a lot more growth. And unfortunately, like some of the people that grew that way, once you grow, you change. And some people didn't continue that. And it kind of became less and less of the thing. And nowadays it's just, I'm not going to say it never happens, but it's just not the same way as it used to be. Sometimes the networks will talk about other shows in the network. People will have guests on and they'll talk about their projects when the guest is on, but rarely is there like a segment of a show that's like, let's go explore the community, or let's feature a different project that isn't us this week, because most people just aren't running their shows that way. So I don't want to say there's a good or a bad. I'm just saying like we just happen to live in a era where that's not encouraged or doing anything. But the reason I'm explaining all this, hopefully it's not too long-winded, all we have to do is start doing it, and then boom, we're in an era where people are doing that again. So I'm just trying to encourage people to change and do. And when you do, other people go, oh, I can do that. Either I can do that better, or I can do that also, or I'm going to try doing that and see what happens. And what the result of that is a different tomorrow, and then a different tomorrow after that. And when you start having fun on the internet and growing, more people more people are like, oh, I'm getting in on that, right? And then more audiences get more involved, and it just becomes a different, I call it more fun, but a different internet. Anyway, that was my long-winded last words, and I definitely got to get the hell out of here. So we're ending it quick. Thanks, DJ, for dropping all the links. Thanks, Tony, for your time. And people that know what I'm talking about, go check out that thing at the top of the hour. It's going to be it'll be very, very interesting. And thanks to the Patreons for making it possible for us to be here.
Have a good one, guys.